As the title states, why most preppers will fail. The reason I decided to do this video is because as I was building the foundation for this water tank, this is a project that I've spent probably easily about 25 to 30 hours on. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've learned some important lessons about prepping, about myself, about actually getting out and doing a lot of physical manual labor, some of my own limitations that I've hit, some things that I would have done a lot differently if I had to do it all over again. And it's interesting, there was a video that the Canadian Prepper did a few weeks ago, and I'll provide a link to if you want to check it out in the cards above over here on the left side. And in the video, he talks about how his videos on his channel has been having a lot of success lately, a lot of views on videos that talk about post-apocalyptic, post-SHTF type of videos. And he actually brings up and laments the point that a lot of preppers won't watch the how-to videos. Those are just not simply as popular. And there's a reason for that. The reality is, as a prepper, it's much more exciting, it's much more interesting to talk about things that could happen and theorize about it and listen to these type of videos. The reality is we all love clickbait titles, and those type of videos are going to get a lot of views. But how many of us get really excited when we see a how-to video that shows us how to practically do what needs to be done? And that's something that I've begun to actually analyze and look at on my own channel and think about in context of what I've been doing as I bought this land. As I shared it on this channel over the last year, I purchased land a little over, actually about a year ago to the date almost, beginning of March of last year. Now I'm still called City Prepping. I might change the name of the channel eventually, but the reason being I moved to land is, most preppers will, talk about this on their channel, is you eventually do want to get land. Land is a very important part of prepping. If you want to actually take it serious, the reality is that living in a tight suburban urban environment is not overly practical. And that's one of the primary reasons that drove me to land beyond, a lot of other things, primarily looking at investment and other opportunities here in Southern Cal with a lot of land. But having said that, one of the reasons that I got land again was I wanted to have an environment where I could learn self-sustainability. I shared this on my channel not too long ago, that I'm looking to get bees. I'm going to be, going into gardening. That's why I'm having to put this water tank here behind me. I'm having to build a foundation, getting back into chickens and some other things. Now, through the process of building this foundation, again, I learned some very difficult things. Number one is it's sometimes hard when you got to push through and get things done. When I started digging on this, when I started putting in the, digging down, my goal is to dig down about 10 inches. One of the things that I quickly learned is this area that I'm at up here, it was already bulldozed before. It's been leveled off. And so there's no real topsoil. Everything is pretty much clay and rock. And I'm talking some pretty big sized rocks. Now, I've been using a pickaxe for this process, which was probably one of the biggest mistakes I've made. A good friend of mine, he's in construction and he follows me on Instagram. He lives here locally. And we were talking the other day and he was laughing about, me doing it this way, using a pickaxe and just going after it manually. He was explaining there's a lot of tools, for example, at Home Depot that you could rent. He calls them, I think, 76ers, and it would have made the job a lot faster. I ended up going to Home Depot the other day when I was pretty much already done with the job, and I checked it out. And yeah, there was a tool. It's essentially a jackhammer, but you can switch it out with a spade. Now, I say this and I bring up this point because, again, it was kind of a painful lesson that I learned. I've spent literally over about 25 hours doing this. I could have brought in a piece of equipment like that and done it in half the time. But the thing is, I learned an important lesson. And I think that's a reason that a lot of times preppers don't get into prepping and don't actually, take the practical time to do things, is because there's a fear of, what if I make a mistake? What if I do things incorrectly? I don't want to go down the path and make all these mistakes. And I'm the same way. I don't want to, my time is precious. I got a family, I've got a business, I've got this YouTube channel. But I've learned through this process of actually sticking it out, getting things done, and I'm pretty much done. I'm going to lay in the plastic liner here at the bottom. I finally got the drain all set up, and I'll do a video on this whole experience. But I'll be putting in pea gravel and other things over the next few days. But had I given up, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have finished this project, and now I'll be able to get the water tank and then put in the gardens, the container gardens here in the next week. So all that to say, it was a very difficult process. But again, it's easier sometimes to talk about, again, buying gear, doing things after, what's it going to be like after the collapse? If there's a major, situation that happens in America or around the world, what's that going to look like? And we begin to create these videos that hypothesize and theorize about these type of things. And people really, really love these type of videos. But how many of us get really excited about the how-to videos? How many get excited about saying, you know what, I'm done listening to these videos and I'm going to begin to actually implement what I have learned? And if you take away anything from this video, that would be my encouragement, is you've got to decide that you're going to take some steps to actually get things done. have a subscriber. We've been talking over email, and he was bringing up the fact and some of his frustrations, rather, that it's been difficult for him to get all the things lined up and prepping that he needs to get done, because it can feel overwhelming. And we've been dialoguing back and forth about how to stay motivated, how to get done these different things. And I completely understand his position and where he's coming from. And honestly, if you're listening to this, Daniel, that was one of the reasons I decided to go full throttle with this foundation, building it out. Because I knew at the end of the day, it would have been easier to just sit back and think, oh gosh, I need to get that done, but not actually get around to it. And it was a process for me where I had to push myself and say, you know what, whether it's working late in the evenings, and I'll put some photos up here. I had a lantern out, I was working at night, into the wee hours. But there's a sense of, accomplishment, let's just put it this way, as I can see these things come together. Now, I talked to some people in the area, and they had laborers that could come up here and do the project for me. Some were quoting around about $1,000, to set up a concrete foundation and, all the stuff that goes into it. And if I was smart, from a business perspective, I would have just hired individuals to come and do that. I would have saved a lot of money versus the time spent on this versus the time that I could have dedicated to other things. And I get that. But the reality is, it was a challenge for me. I wanted to push myself. And to be quite honest, I sit behind a desk all day working, and I kind of got tired of it, and I was just glad to get out and actually be able to do physical labor. Now, as a result, I'm kind of beat up. My shoulders are killing me. My left hand, I can't really grip. Obviously, I'll be fine in a week or so, but I beat myself up. And had I, done this, if I had a, time machine and could do this all over again, I would have done things differently. But that is one of the key takeaways, is that I learned something. And that was my encouragement to you, is don't get paralyzed by the fear of the unknown, or the fear of I'm going to make a mistake, or where do I start, or just procrastinate. Hey, if you're starting out and, people have commented on some of my videos, they've emailed me feeling like it's kind of too late to get started. And all I can say is you're anything but, you're far from the truth on that. Anything you can do now to prepare, getting food ready, storing water, doing basics, do it now. There's time that's always, I have no idea what's going to come down the pipe in the next year, 5 years, 10 years. I have some different theories I'll share in other videos. But I think it's critical at this point, especially this year, to do all you can to get ready. Do I think there's going to be civil unrest next year, a civil war? I know a lot of preppers are talking about that. I really have no idea. I think there's some potential for some catastrophic things that, again, I'm going to be studying and I'll talk about in another video. But all that to say is, do what you can now to prepare. For me, this is why I bought land. I wanted to get out of the city. I wanted to begin to prepare and set up different things that I can be more self-sustaining. And is there a fear that motivates me? Not really. Again, this is kind of the driving force that's been pushing me over the years as I've developed this channel. And as a side note, let me say this. I don't know it all. I really don't. And there's a lot of things I'm learning. And it's fun for me. I mean, I enjoy getting out here and putting, time and effort into actually learning these things. And it's difficult at times. But the more and more I push myself, the more and more there's a sense of accomplishment. I develop skills that no one can take away. And that's, again, why I'm going to push myself to learn gardening, getting into bees. Chickens, I'm going to have to delay for several months. There's a big outbreak out here in our area in the Inland Empire where there's a disease that's gone through and killed a lot of chickens. So they're unfortunately having to push chickens off the delivery date until, I believe, in June. So I'm going to have to push that back. But all that to say, with setbacks, and there's things that, again, I didn't expect that I was going to have to spend a week and a half building a foundation. I did not budget that in my schedule at all. But here we are. I had to get it done. And my encouragement is the same to you. As you get into prepping, as you actually do the things that you need to do, there's going to be times where you'll make mistakes and things get, pushed back, or you get delays. And I'm the kind of person I get frustrated when I have delays. I want things to go according to schedule. But that's the other thing, is I've learned through this process is it doesn't always go that way. It doesn't always work out that way. One of the things I mentioned even recently is I was planning on putting in a greenhouse up here. Ended up getting into it with the HOA, and they said you can't do it. So it's frustrating, but there are ways that I can work around that, putting in container gardens. I still would like to put in a greenhouse, but we'll see how that works out. But all that to say is I'm still moving forward with my plans, regardless of the setbacks that come. And again, that's my encouragement to you. If you're listening to this video, if you're watching it, do not let the things that frustrate you, the unknowns, stop you. Just get out and do. And again, if you don't know where to start, go after food and water. Study. I've got plenty of videos on my channel talking about water. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos over the next several months on food storage as I begin to ramp up my own food storage. I'm going to be sharing as I learn on that process. So all that to say, while it's fun to watch the videos about the post SHTF, what's going to happen. Everybody gets really worked up because everybody kind of is curious what's going to happen. But think about it this way: how many people get excited again about the videos that actually show how to do, and how many of you out there watching this video are actually doing these things? And that's my challenge to you. If you can take anything away from this video, what is the thing that you're doing? What have you done this week? There's a lot of things that I've been working on, and sometimes I feel a lot of pressure. I don't feel anxiety, but I feel the reality of, I do need to get ready. What's coming, I don't know. And I wouldn't say I'm in fear or, panic, not at all. But I get excited as I learn things, and I know those are skills that can never be taken away from me. So anyway, I'd be interested what your thoughts are and your feedback in the comment section below. Again, this is not the typical type of scripted out video. This is a little more off the cuff, but this is something I've been thinking about a lot as I've been spending time up here just digging nonstop, slamming a lot of rock with pickaxe, which, that was a dumb thing to do, but I've learned, and in the future, I know the tools to get, but hey, I got it done. Project was done, and I have a great sense of accomplishment. I'll be sharing the video here probably the next week once I get this all set up, just the process I learned. So you'll be seeing me put in container gardens next, and probably from there, I'll try to get into bees, hopefully within the next month, because that season is coming right up. So as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Click on the like button, subscribe, share on social media. And again, I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback in the comment section below. I always learn a lot from the community, and this is definitely a video that I'd love to hear your input. What are you doing? What are you learning? What are you pushing yourself to do that maybe you're not comfortable about doing, or you're not even sure how to do? Put those in the comments section below. I always love to hear your feedback. As always, be safe out there.